They can't stop the day we dissect the news, flipping on the edge, choices to choose. Politics and laughter, a blend that's so real, shooting for the stories that make you feel. With guests from every angle, let's bridge the divide, finding the truth in the humor we can't hide. The Prime Directive, where the laughter's alive, society's reflections, let's help each other thrive. Politics and culture, oh what a blend. Join on the journey, let's set the trend.
Liked Schwarzenegger. There was a documentary that fairly recently got released within the last year and a half or so on Netflix, and he was talking about self-made people, and he basically was just like, self-made who's self-made?
Nobody's self-made.
Nobody's self-made.
Yeah, that's a myth.
When you look at the sheer level of engagement that a human, that old saying, it takes a village. Yeah, guess what? It takes an even bigger village for somebody to succeed to that point.
That's right.
Now, of course, you may have some very arrogant people like the late Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
and to be fair, I feel like he's also from a different era. I'm a big car dork, big car nerd. So learning a lot of the historic, success stories from Enzo Ferrari and a lot of these Ferruccio Lamborghini and all these individuals who basically they were very, I don't know if they were necessarily very good at managing people, but they were very good at coming up with ideas, and they were very good at implementing people. Not necessarily managing people or coming up with, necessarily revolutionary ideas, but they were good at implementing the people, basically knowing where is the right fit, and then also to push and push and push to the point where the people around them were delivering on their idea, which is something that Steve Jobs was. He may have been a visionary, but he was also very good at knowing where to put people and also how to push people.
Well, that leads into why athletics again helps with. My brother and I, with people, we try to create. His big thing is creating a culture, because, like you said, you're only as good as the people surrounding you. Just what you just said, it takes a village. And you get one person can't do it. You can't. It's impossible. And you have to have the people around you, and you all have to. A good story I have too. Actually, two good stories. I told mine. I'm going to toot my horn a little bit here again. I told my district. I told my district manager when she was learning. I said, I became a good manager. I said, I am a good manager. You know how I became one? She said, how? I go, I made every mistake in the book. You name it, I made it.
Yeah.
But like my dad always taught me, you got to learn from them.
Yeah.
You got to learn from your mistakes, and when you do that, too, and you got to help people. The worst way too is if you so have to fire somebody. And I told my brother this: you never want to have to fire somebody because it's your fault. And when I say that, means if I hire you and I just put you in an office next to me and you're sitting there, and I never give you, as we said, the tools again to succeed, and you didn't succeed, I got rid of you, and it's my fault. And then you got to feel bad because you learned nothing. You just lost a job. You probably walked out and said, well, I'm glad he let me go because I didn't know anything was going on. Nobody ever helped me to succeed, and that's the worst thing. So I always tell my brother that when he says, I don't think this manager's going to work out. I go, yeah, but did you do this with him?
Yeah.
I go, did you help her here? Did you bring in other people? Did you really give her all the tools and just they can't handle it?
Yeah.
Because I would exhaust everything before I let somebody go.
Sure.
Because you don't want to be your fault.
Well, and that's the mark of a great business owner.
Yeah, you just don't want that. Yeah. You just don't want that to be your
fault. And the
fault.
fact that the culture really is everything. And profits are it's a scale to measure how well you're doing, but the culture of a place really does define.
It does.
My wife that's her expertise in leadership.
Another story. My first accounting office I had, I thought I hired all these 4.0 students from the university, accounting office.
Ooh, 4.0.
Yeah, they were. They
must be the best because they were 4.0.
And they'd be out in the bullpen. They'd call it out there, and there was about 6 or 8 of them, and they didn't get along. They didn't get. So I thought about it. I go, well, they're smart. What's going on here? Then I figured out the jobs I was hiring for, all intro jobs. Accounts payable, accounts receivable, and that was, and this and that. I go, I can hire people that are, fresh out of school. Maybe they're not the top of their class, but I gotta see what's inside them, how they communicate. Do they get along well with people? Because they're out there working together. Their office is right next to each other. They're just desks. So I did that. I started hiring people. And I go, I could train them. So I trained them to do those jobs. I hired all the people that I know are good best office I ever had.
Yeah, isn't it incredible? I see the education world where I'm coming from is obsessed with standardized testing. It has become a cult. It's become dysfunctional. It originally was designed to be like let's get a feel of the temperature of what's going on with a student, and it has become this be all end all. And I'm telling you right now, many, not all, but many of the 4.0 kids that are obsessed about their grades, many times they're not the greatest in the groups. They don't work well with others. Everything's a competition,
or else
so they don't see each other as like in collaboration ever. They're I'm going to get one up on you, and they'll undercut. They're book smart, but they'll undercut other people and don't build trust. I had
an assistant controller in one of my jobs. Again, not just another store, and every day he'd come in with his accounting book. Well, and he had that deep voice. Well, Dave, you're doing this, and on here in page 78, Finally, about the third day, I came in, and I just wasn't in the mood. And he says, and I said, "Hey, Bruce, can I see that book?" He goes, "Well, sure." I took it. Garbage can was right there, and I tossed it right in. I go, "You know what that means, Bruce?" And he was like, I go, "You're now in the real world." Mm-hmm. I go, "That's a basis for your education.
Yeah.
That's not how things function."
Yeah.
And it worked for him because he started letting his hair down, so to speak, and understanding that things aren't always what they are in black and white in the book.
And just so like any viewers know, Dave, you're a franchisee in barbershops. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
And how did you come to... Now, you didn't start in barbershops, I'm guessing, right? So business accounting, a variety of college experiences.
I had a nephew that... and my brother-in-law, they got in. They knew the gentleman that owned the franchise, and it's out of Denver.
It is. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's out of Denver, and they opened shops up in Boulder.
Okay.
And we got involved with them, and one thing led to another, and we ended up in Austin, Texas. So that's where that's where our stores are. It's a great franchise. Brothers own it. Good people.
Okay.
Like them. They've been involved in other businesses. They're good business people.
Yeah, the culture climate is what distinguishes that place from other haircut places, right? It's like where you go to hang out and talk and meet, and it's like a...
It's huge. Our niche is we try, we do if you go into one of our shops, we have all it's based on you're a music guy. Mm-hmm. We got all these murals, all these posters.
I've been to the one right down here. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we... a lot of music, and we try to make that a little bit of the theme.
Yeah.
And it's kind of worked for us.
Yeah.
And especially in Austin, where that's like one of the music capitals also.
Yep.
And so it's done well for us.
That's good. Excellent.
Yeah. It's we struggle with. Well, luckily my brother does the operations because he deals with the people, and I just have to listen to him vent every day.
That's a job all in its own.
That's a job all in itself.
I can't imagine. Hundreds and hundreds of employees,
they're like your students. They just, you don't know what they're thinking, right?
Yep.
They come in, you don't know what they're...
Yes.
You'll have somebody come in and just say, in one of our better shops, they'll say, "I'm just not making any money here." And my brother will go, "Well, why? Everybody else is making money." "I don't know, I'm just not making money." Well, he's there one day, and there's like 8 people ready to get a haircut. It's 4:00 in the afternoon. And they're packing up, they're going home. And I said, "Why are you going home?" "Well, I'm just tired today." Oh, well, you just missed out on a lot of money.
Do you find that's a generational thing?
I do.
Is that kind of a generational thing?
I do,
or-
and again, I don't like, my father said the same thing to me. Our generation, we were the baby boomers.
We're the better generation.
Yeah.
And now it's a running gag. Like the younger generation goes, okay, boomer. Right? That's the gag now.
I guess, my brother has a good story on that. He said one time he worked at a gym, an athletic club, and he was a manager. And him being big on football, it was Super Bowl Sunday, and he looked at his boss and he says, "He has Super Bowl Sunday." He goes, "I want to watch the game." "You can watch the game." He's like, "Can?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, we'll have to close the." He goes, "No, you don't." He goes, "Can't you find anybody to work?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Well, then I guess you're working." And my brother says, "And I did." He goes, "But today," he goes, "if the kids were cutting hair and they wanted to do something, they do it. And if you fire them the next day, they don't care."
Yeah,
No sense of responsibility.
There is a generational shift away from that stuff.
Yeah.
I can see it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in the defense of the younger generation, they'll say things like, "Well, this job doesn't pay shit," or whatever, or this job, so forget this. It's just but I was taught very similarly by my dad, when he was still alive. It was that you just always kept doors open. And so, like, as a musician, you had to work on Christmas Eve. I'd be working at the Penrose Room at the Broadmoor every New Year's Eve for close to 25 years. Because on New Year's Eve, you could charge triple, quadruple, sometimes 10 times. A couple gigs I booked, 10 times the going rate for that one night. For one night. And so if you're willing to do that, and then we would go do our New Year's Eve dinner the next night at half the price, right? Because then you weren't doing that stuff. You in the music business, you could get a foot in that area and stuff. So
Well, the problem is today, they don't care about burning bridges, like you just said. Because you know how many people... We actually have a list now my brother made. It's called a do not hire list. Heck, I looked at one. Now he's got pages of it. Of people that he won't... Because they'll, and then they come back and they think, and he goes, well, "Didn't you quit on us 3 months ago?" "Well, yeah, but, I give you this." Like, "That's okay, and you should be able to rehire me," which means then he'll quit again in 2 weeks.
Right.
And I didn't realize this till my brother told me. So he goes, "Oh, we got applications coming out." I go, "Really? That's great." He goes, "No, it's not." I go, "Why?" And it didn't dawn on me. He goes, "Do you know why I'm getting all these applications?" He goes, "This is their thinking now." He goes, "They know our busiest time of the year is from Thanksgiving through the end of the year, the hair cutting business." He says, "So they're going to work those 2 months and then they're going to quit."
Yeah.
You talk about saving.
Yeah.
They are all paycheck to paycheck.
Sure.
And they'll make a lot of money and then they'll just sit home until they spend it all.
Interesting.
It has become very transactional, unfortunately, in terms of there is and I feel like you can trace this back to the late 70s, early 80s, when there was this huge amount of loyalty towards your employer, because you had things such as pensions.
Yeah.
You had a lot of investments, and I'm not talking about monetary investments. I'm talking about personal investments in terms of, hey, we're developing a culture. We're it's like that whole proverbial, we are a work family. And that is sorely missing nowadays.
That is a very good point.
There are very, very good places out there still, but there are so few and far in between. And this new generation has basically seen, no one cares. People are getting fired left and right. To whom do I owe any sense of loyalty or any sense of sacrifice if I can do everything right? And by the way, my generation, the millennials, we love getting a lot of flack for how the millennials, right? It's like, the ones who went to war in Iraq, in Afghanistan, the ones who basically went through the .com bubble, and everything else, the 08 housing crisis, the financial crash. I mean, there were so many curveballs that were effectively dealt to this generation. And by the way, the subsequent generation, the Gen Zers, are kind of looking at us going, yeah, not doing that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they're basically kind of looking as though they're kind of taking their agency back, which is unfortunate because in a lot of instances, that agency ultimately means I'm not going to sacrifice. For whom? For whom am I sacrificing anything? No, if I want to go, do that one thing. And the downside, of course, today is, hey, I get to make, videos on TikTok, and I get to walk away with a 6-figure income. Oh. And I don't have to really do.
Oh, you think so, huh? Yeah.
Well, that's.
I know they think this.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that's the perception.
Yeah.
And even if it is not real, it doesn't have to be real.
No,
because it has to be nothing other than just this pie in the sky where I get to work for a certain amount of time, make however much money I'm going to make. And basically, what is their prospect? The jobs are not paying anything. Mm-hmm. Loyalty is not rewarded. Sacrifice is not rewarded. Now education is not rewarding as it used to be.
Yeah.
On top of that, they're facing insurmountable amounts of debt just to exist.
For college too.
Why are we looking at those statistics? And by the way, Professor G, I don't know what your perception is in regards to $100 million. If that's indeed the case, please give me a call. I'd love to talk to you about that.
That was his number.
Yeah, which by the way, if we're going to go in that direction, then I'd like 100 billion. But the fact of the matter is, everything has gotten so out of proportion. And I feel like the reason why this conversation is even happening is because there's very little left in terms of, the Professor G, Scott Galloway, he speaks about what prospects does the new generation really have? Where are they?
They do have prospects, but
they have prospects,
they're not as good as they
nowhere
were.
near.
Yeah.
Because what is the current percentage of young people who are college graduates who are moving back with their parents because they are incapable of finding a job that will actually pay enough to live. And I'm not talking about necessarily living well, which, by the way, I'm totally with you. I'm so excited to touch upon this. Please don't let me forget. I would love to talk to you about toys. I'm just kind of curious.
He's a car guy.
Yeah,
he loves cars.
But the fact of the matter is, they are not overspending. It's currently the way I kind of look at it. It's like I'm not 3 paychecks away from being a billionaire or even a millionaire. I'm 3 paychecks away from being homeless.
Yep.
And that's the prospect. And for a lot of the young people, it's like, what's a home? Is that something you buy?
Right.
Why do you think that's changed though? Since for my generation, you mentioned that buy a home. I didn't buy my first home till I was close to 40. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
Because I moved around a lot and I didn't want to have to sell it, so we lived in an apartment a lot. But you think maybe, and I'm asking questions here because I don't know, that the millennials are reaching too far. In other words, I always talk about paying your dues. You take jobs that don't pay much so you could move up the ladder, like I said that I did. And you get a lot of these kids, they come out of college. I'm not working for that amount of money. I'm not. Well, so then they'd rather live at home than take a job, making something and learning, rather than, learning something rather than being at home, moving back with your parents.
And that's actually a really good question. I think that's a wonderful question. I think the unbelievable increase in just cost of living, which is completely off the charts. It's like that whole thing about teachers. It's like we are not in a teacher shortage crisis. We are in I have a master's degree, and why am I looking at a job starting off at $35,000 a year crisis? That makes zero sense. That we are kind of in this bizarre sort of circumstance, and it's kind of interesting. You had mentioned, I think, first-time home buyers. The average age, according to the COB, the Congressional Budget Office, used to be like in the early mid 30s. It's when people would buy their first home. That has now shifted towards the 50s, and now we're floating the idea of what 50-year mortgages.
Yeah, that's insane.
And the fact of the matter is, what is the
you'll basically die in debt. You'll never.
Well, yeah, but if you can.
I mean, that's the point. I think that's the point of a 50-year
Well, I was going to say,
mortgage.
and that's the whole, play on words. What does the word mortgage really mean, right?
Yeah.
But that's the idea. Is like we are now in this really bizarre circumstance where wages are not where they need to be. For example, I just looked at the statistics the other day. They actually said for a 4-person family living in Colorado, you have the household, the 4-person household needs to be at over 6 figures. I think it was to live comfortably. It's like that's the interesting thing about the K-shaped economy. So basically, the K-shaped economy is that we are now living in this really bizarre, economic system where the ones who are making over 6 figures are actually doing okay. Whereas if you are not,
which is the majority of people,
which is the vast majority of people,
Bob Long K,
correct, and that's the interesting thing, and the reason why is because since the 1970s, what was the shift in overall wages? The shift from the middle class to the top 1/10 of 1% has been what? $37 trillion.
It's ridiculous.
It's unbelievable,
and it isn't business owners, right? It's not those people. It's this percentage of individuals that are at this
we're basically talking about.
It's at this hyper top,
correct
top
where you have
0.0000001%.
Right, because you have 10 individuals who are worth more than the bottom 50% of the entire population
of the earth.
Of the
earth.
Well, actually, if I recall correctly, the top 10 income earners in the United States are worth more than the bottom half of the entire.
What you're talking about is Oxfam. Oxfam had a study. It's the 8 people on planet Earth, the top 8.
Oh, I don't know about that. I know about the top 10 people in the U.S. are worth more than half of the population. So we're basically talking about 170 million people, and that discrepancy has not been seen since the Gilded Age of the 1920s, and we're basically talking about, and that's basically what has really happened is how do you afford to exist? For example, right now there's been an interesting change. I just watched a news segment about renters in the rental market, because a lot of individuals who are looking to sell their homes realize that in the current climate, that is not the wisest thing to do. So they flooded the market with a lot of homes that are now out for rent, and now the renters, it's a renting market where a lot of individuals are basically able to say, hey, oh my goodness, we have so many different options now, because now there are more rental properties out that are available than individuals looking to rent. But you kind of look at the rental market and you're like, oh my goodness, some of these, you get a 1-bedroom apartment, it's $2,000.
$2,000, yeah.
And your income is $3,000. And by the way, $3,000, I'm being generous.
Yeah.
I'm being generous. If your starting salary is $35,000 a year, you're walking away with what, $20,000, and you're basically going to give away most of that. No wonder people have 5 roommates trying to live in a 2-bedroom apartment. So it's just surprising.
Wasn't there more of the tech jobs out there I guess my confusion comes in is And I surprise a lot of people when I'm going to make this statement.
We surprise ourselves.
By the way, do I get a 6-figure check for this podcast?
I think we've made $16 on Patreon. Yeah, so yeah.
Hold on a second. We made $16,
but then it costs $40 to run the podcast.
You could just pay my.
That's a really. So it covered a third of the cost per month.
If we're making $16 and it costs us $4 times as much,
$40 a month to run the podcast.
somehow. That's,
We're in the black or the red or one of them.
No,
we're the bled.
I think we're in we're in a wide variety. I think we're in a greenish.
Yeah, I don't know. It's yeah.
But anyway, here's what I'm going to tell you. And this doesn't take a whole lot of education. I'm going to have 4 people this year that it's going to make $150,000 cutting hair.
Cutting hair.
And my point being, are they looking? Are people looking? I mean, aren't there? I mean, I'm talking about being a barber.
Yeah. And did they go to college? They didn't go to college. See, so you don't necessarily have to go that route. No. But I'm guessing that those individuals bust their ass.
They do.
I'm guessing that those individuals are good communicators. You can trust them. They're always working, and they have this ethic about them.
They work their butts off. I'm not. Yeah.
But they got that ethic.
They're 6 day a week people.
Sure.
To make that kind of money and.
Yeah, but 150K is nothing to.
No,
that's not like that's not that you can make a very good living making that kind of money.
And they work their butts off, and they have a clientele, and they've built a business, so to speak. And that's why I was listening intently to what you were saying. I'm wondering, but still, maybe even now I know everybody can't be a doctor. They still make a lot of money, but. A lot of these occupations still make good money. Mm-hmm. So I'm finding, to go out and only getting $35,000 is, what field is that?
And it's basically the working poor.
Yeah,
that's what they're referred to as. They're referred to as.
You mean the school teachers?
Actually, and that's the interesting. It's like and as far as tech jobs are disappearing. With the advent of AI, it's like why?
Well, that's another subject. Absolutely.
And that's kind of where we go into that. You're correct, by the way. I feel like, but the problem is we have developed this generation of computer scientists in terms of, let me just rephrase that, computer science majors who were effectively told during a period of time what you need to do, kind of like in the early 2000s with a lot of millennials. Go get a business degree. If you get a business degree, you're already smiling because you know exactly where I was going to go with that. And the same thing happened in the early 2010s. I remember it was a huge push for, go get a computer science degree. That's where the money is. What for? You download your favorite AI app. You write a prompt. Anybody can write a prompt. Say, write me a program that does X, Y, and Z. Just like that, it's already done. And the issue is we are not, and this is, by the way, also an interesting shift. The CBO, again, came out and basically said, hey, we need close to 200,000 electricians in the next...
And plumbers.
And the plumbers.
Blue collar
HVAC
technicians, etc. And it's interesting because there is a distinct shift in the interest of people to want to work with their hands, which, by the way, brings me to another subject. Shop. In schools.
We've again, the obsession has been on test scores.
That's what I'm saying.
And because it's done that, vocational ed has been eviscerated.
Let me ask you the most important question. Why did we go to college? What for?
Well, I know I went because I was too afraid not to. My dad would beat my ass. But
because
I was about to say the beatings will continue until
here's where the switch was to the baby boomers because they didn't go. You're going to college.
Yeah.
When you came out of the crib and you were able to walk, you do know you're going to college. What's that, Dad? Their mind was already made up. You were going to college because they didn't go.
And the same thing happened in the 90s, and the same thing happened in the early 2000s.
But my point with college is, and I hope your wife doesn't hear this because she'll.
Well, she sees it all.
You garner. Yeah. And here's a perfect example. What is it when you just take the general? What is it? If I went to college
they used to have humanities degrees and
social. What do they call it?
Social studies?
Social sciences.
Yeah, social science.
Yeah.
I would do that because only benefit I see in college is you're on your own and you learn to survive on your own. Nobody's pushing you to go to class. So
that's right.
Like we all did our freshman year. I'm skipping classes till you get your first set of grades, right?
And then you can see that. Then you're like, oh my god!
So you either, my dad says, you're either going to do it or you're not.
Oh, you're not.
So you learn to do it. And my example is, I could have somebody come in from an Ivy League school and just graduate, and I could have somebody sent me their resume at 5 years of experience in business, and I look at both of them, I go, I'm going with the guy with experience. I don't care where he went to school.
Yeah.
Only because it's like we said.
Yeah.
I think unless you specifically going to be an architect, a doctor, a lawyer specifically, why are you going to college? Because so when they come out, the reason why they're not making, they don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
How do you know you want to be a computer scientist?
Well, and that's the other thing. You're right. When it comes to specific education, you need to have an education in terms of there are a certain set of requirements. Okay, so you took that class, and you graduated with that degree. So I know what your background is based on the fact that you actually had to study to get something done. Otherwise, if I ask you to, you're going to be a computer programmer and you don't know what C++ is and how that language works and you cannot write basic code, sure, I could have learned that on my own, but you finished your 4-year degree at a university and you can show me that you went through this basic knowledge and now I can, have you write code for me. That's a totally separate conversation entirely to have. Because there's a certain sense of qualifications. Why do we have qualified mechanics versus taking it down to Joe Schmo who repairs a car in his garage? Well, I would much rather have somebody who is an SAE certified technician because they had to learn certain things to make sure that they're getting the specifications and do the work to a certain level of specifications. The downside with college, I think, is, and by the way, I completely agree with you, for the most part, what is college really for? You committed to something to get something done for 4 years. So it tells me you were committed enough to show up, to do the work, whatever requirement of work needed to get something done, to actually get somebody to review the work and say, yeah, you did the work. To be flexible enough to learn. Yeah, I think the biggest thing about college is I'm developing new ways on how I can actually learn and formulate a sentence to explain to you why I'm thinking the way I do. And more importantly, I'm actually getting something in return as far as I've learned how to work with people, both easygoing and difficult. I've had to see projects go through, etc. So that is the value. Other than that, unless you, like you said, unless I'm looking for a specialized sort of field where I'm going to become a doctor, a lawyer, or I'm going to be a microbiologist, where you better know your way around the microscope and you better be able to tell me exactly how you're going to extrapolate a cell. Why do we go to college? That's the reason why, and that's
I got the most out of college when I got my MBA.
Yeah.
And why?
Yeah.
I got it late in life. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
I was one of those people the class hated me. Every time the professor would say something, I'd have a story related to it.
Yeah.
And that's why I learned from it. Because why? Yeah, I went through. They would go right from college into graduate school, so they had no basis. Yeah. And when I went through it, I go, I could relate to every subject he said. I could relate to. So it's easier for me to get through and learn.
I know you're here, but Prime Directive's calling, so let's pass that beer. The Prime Directive, where the laughter's alive. Society's reflections, let's help each other thrive. Politics and culture, oh what a blend. Join on